Hello. Until now, I have remained mostly quiet about these things, but I would like to take the next 1 to 4 hours and share with you all my own very personal, highly emotionally driven opinions about every political issue facing our country and the world today. Let us begin with COVID-19. Ha! Just kidding. But did you know that Jesus was Jewish?
Jewish Jesus Jamboree! Bow!
But to answer all of your real questions, yes, this is a new hat. It was a Father's Day gift. And no, I do not know what this stain is from. If you have any other pressing questions, feel free to drop them in the comment section below. Otherwise, let's get started. Today we are going to continue our study of one of the most important Jewish prayers in the Bible. It's found in Deuteronomy 6, verses 4 and 5. The Jews recite it twice a day and have for the last several thousand years. It's loaded with meaning for us today. It's called the Shema, and it goes like this. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. And you must love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all of your soul, and with all of your strength. Or if you're cool, you say it like this. Shema Yisrael, Adonai and Elohenu, Adonai echad. Ve'achavte et Adonai Elohecha. Ve'chol lavavcha, uve'chol nafshecha, uve'chol meodecha. Today we're going to be looking at the next two words, which are Adonai and Elohenu, which mean the Lord and our God, and we're going to get very, very wordy about it.
Let's get wordy!
So here's the deal. The word Lord in all capitals, sometimes small capitals, appears almost 7,000 times in the Old Testament. When you see the word Lord in all capitals or small capitals, it's a replacement for the name Yahweh, which is the holy, sacred name of God, which is usually indicated by 4 letters, YHWH, which is called the Tetragrammaton. I told you we were getting
Wordy!
The first time we learn the meaning of the name Yahweh is in Exodus chapter 3, when this dude named Moses approaches this burning bush, which is on fire, but it's not really burning. Turns out God is in the bush, and then God commissions this dude named Moses to lead God's people out of Egypt because they've been there for 400 years as slaves. Now, since Moses doesn't know who this all-powerful bush-dwelling being is, he asks the bush, when I go to the people and they ask me who sent me, what should I say? So God tells Moses, you can tell them that my name is, you guessed it, Ehyeh. Wait, that can't be right. It's supposed to be Yahweh, right? Wrong. The first name that God tells Moses is Ehyeh, which means I will be. Or in your Bible, it probably says I am who I am, or just I am. This name indicates that the God of Israel wasn't created by anyone. He doesn't rely on anybody else to exist. He just is, and he always will be. But it wouldn't make sense for Moses to walk up to the people and start talking in first person by saying, I will be has sent me. Because only God can talk about himself in first person. That's how it works. So in the next sentence, God tells Moses that his name is Yahweh, which is the third person version of Ehyeh, which means he will be. So Yahweh is God's name. But later on in the book of Exodus, in chapter 20, verse 7, we read in the third of the 10 commandments that God says, do not misuse my holy and sacred name. There will be serious consequences if you misuse my holy and sacred name. And Jesus confirms this when he tells his disciples how to pray in the Lord's Prayer, when he starts with, Our Father in heaven, may your name be kept holy, or hallowed be thy name for you King James people. So it's understandable that people were very concerned about misusing the name of God. So when they would read the scriptures out loud and they would come to the word Yahweh right in front of them, they would instead say the word Adonai, which means Lord. Now, Adonai is not a name for God, but it's just a word that can be used for anyone in authority. So that's why in your Bible, it's in all capitals or small capitals to indicate that it's standing in the place of the divine name Yahweh. Now I'm going to give you a few seconds to take some deep breaths, to clear your mind, stretch a little bit maybe, because things are about to get weird. Okay, let's get weird. Now, to make absolutely certain that the ancient writers didn't accidentally say the name Yahweh, what they did is they took those 4 consonants, YHWH, the Tetragrammaton, and they inserted the vowels from the word Adonai, making this word right here. Now, if you say this word out loud, it sounds like Yahovah or Jehovah. but nobody ever actually said that name. It was just a symbol to remind you to say Adonai so you don't accidentally say Yahweh. It's a totally made-up word. Then, when European Christian scholars tried to translate the Bible from the original texts thousands of years after it was written, they saw the name Yahovah and they said, oh, that must be Jehovah. And then they said, gee whiz, that must be God's real name. So now everybody calls him Jehovah, but it's a totally made-up word. His real name is Yahweh. So that's it for Adonai. And before we move into our next Hebrew word, let's take a break. A nature break. Now, I do not claim to be a nature expert, so I have decided to bring in my good friend who has asked me to read this verbatim for legal reasons. It is time for a nature break with my Zoological Association accredited associate who studied at world-renowned universities to earn several advanced degrees in ornithology, horticulture, arbology, drendology, mammalogy, reptology, and antique bugle appraisal. To list all of his other accomplishments would make for much too long a video, so let's just jump right in with my good friend, Nature Bill.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Nature Bill, or William Amos Naturius for short, and I am an expert when it comes to the local flora and fauna surrounding the area of Big Rapids, Michigan, and beyond. I'll be using both the English and Latin names of all the animals and plants that we see on this expedition so that you will believe that I really am an expert, as if my accent isn't evidence enough. We begin our expedition here at the nest of Turdus migratorius, the American robin, where her robin egg blue eggs await their hatching day. Whilst we wait, let us observe Cyanocita cristata, the North American blue jay, a refreshing streak of blue amidst a dull sky of... well, never mind. Now let us break the borders of the Mitten State to observe a reptile of western... Wait a second. Did you see that? Go back. Ah, well, isn't this a treat? We've been unknowingly visited by a friend of the trees, collector of the nuts, the Brad Pitt of the deciduous forest, the eastern fox squirrel, also known as the Bryant's fox squirrel, also known as Sirius niger. Isn't he adorable? Now let us return once again to the alpine wildernesses of western Nevada to observe the common sagebrush lizard, or Salaporus graciosus. Though we won't find this creature here in Michigan, it surely is a treat to behold. Ah, and there he goes. Let us check in again on our eggs, shall we? Oh, would you look at this? After only 14 days of incubation, the first of our brave hatchlings is taking his first look at the real world. And again, only after another 3 days, we see our brave brood of Turdus migratorius chicks growing feathers and begging Mum for some regurgitated worm salad. And here they are once more, only 3 days later, ever fluffier and ever closer to flying day. And yes, you counted correctly. 4 eggs yielded only 3 babies. It's a harsh, dangerous world in which to be Turdus migratorius. Now please, I do implore you, do not try this next one at home. Only trained nature people should attempt that which follows. Observe as I approach and collect a juvenile red squirrel, or Sirius vulgaris, in order to relocate him to a safer, more appropriate habitat. And just when you think you've made a new friend, he bites you on the finger. Scurry along, my friend. Scurry along. And now let us return to our growing robins one last time. After only 2 weeks in the nest, our beloved chicks are fully feathered, favorably fortunate, and fearlessly fond of the coming of their first flight when they flee the familiar fortress of their fleeting youth. And just like that, they're gone. I do hope this expedition has sparked a new desire in you all to go outdoors, to climb a tree, to touch a rodent, and to Google all the Latin names of whatever creatures you find in your own stretch of wilderness. This has been Nature Time with Nature Bill. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Wow. That guy really is a nature expert. Now let's take just a minute and talk about the word Elohenu. The word Elohenu is a form of the Hebrew word Elohim, which just means God. Now Elohim is not God's name, but it is just a word that means God. God's name is Yahweh. In the Bible, the word Elohim can also be attributed to gods, plural, or pagan gods like Baal or Molech or something like that, or it can also be attributed to kings or people in authority, or also to angels. So the word Elohim really just means big person in authority over stuff. And Elohenu is the plural first-person possessive form of Elohim, so it doesn't just mean God, but it means our God. And that's about it. And thus concludes our study of the words Adonai Elohenu, or the Lord our God, from the Shema. Come back next time when we'll get real phlegmy and talk about the word Echad. So make sure you subscribe to the Jewish Jesus Jamboree, where you come for the Hebrew, learn some Latin, but hear mostly English.
Jewish Jesus Jamboree.